that better? Oh, I thought I blew and it was good. Did everybody hear me okay? All right. So the purpose of the Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial hearing. And what we do is we have the clerk read each of the resolutions, and then we'll have input from the applicant. The board will discuss among ourselves, and then we may have additional questions. Since right now we only have 3 board members, it will require a majority or a complete. Yeah, it will require 3 yeses for a resolution to pass this evening. I think in the past when we had that issue, we allowed the opportunity to come back at a different time when there were more board members.
You could do a straw poll
Or we can go ahead and proceed with it as well. So if there's no objections, then we'll go ahead and proceed with the hearing this evening. So at this time, since it is a quasi-judicial, everyone present that will be testifying, I'll need to stand, raise the right hand, and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you agree, say aye. If you oppose, say nay. Thank you.
The clerk to take attendance.
So,
Oh, there we go. Got it.
so would the clerk please take the roll call?
Wayne Davey,
Here.
Wade Davis,
Here.
and Eddie Harvey.
Here.
I don't think we need to make a resolution to dismiss anybody because the other board members have resigned. Thank you. The next order of business would be to review the meetings from our August the 3rd, 2023 meeting. They've all been sent out. I'd reviewed them. I don't have any questions. If Wayne, I know Eddie wasn't here, so.
No, I reviewed on email and provided a yes, everything was good.
So I'll entertain a motion to adopt those minutes.
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes from August 3rd.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from August the 3rd and a second. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Davey,
Aye.
Mr. Harvey,
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye. So we'll let the record show that the meeting minutes from the August 3rd, 2023 meeting have been approved. So we'll go ahead and move on. There's no old business right now other than we're working on getting some new appointments for the board. Any idea when that will happen, Chris?
We are accepting applications as we speak, and if the board is not opposed, I'd like to have some conversation with you at the end of the meeting.
Sure. Okay. Any other old business?
I don't think
I will go ahead and move on to the new business. So the first thing we have is a resolution BZA 923. Would you please read the resolution?
A resolution to consider the decision of enforcing officials concerning property maintenance at 900 Camp Street.
So I think at this point, one of you read what the resolution is in the application.
So that was the resolution, and I think we have someone here to speak on the matter. We have a code enforcement here, Derek Pearson.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Derek Pearson,
Okay, Derek.
Code Enforcement Officer, Development Department. So the property in question here I was in the neighborhood just doing property maintenance inspections. And it come to my attention, the current conditions of 900 Camp Street. I inspected it on 4/6 of 2023, opened a case and mailed out a CVN on 4/10 of 2023. And I had received a phone call from the property owner on 4/17 stating that he was going to appeal. And as far as that, you have the entirety of the CVN before you there. If you have any questions, just requesting that the BZA support the CVN in its entirety.
So when was the initial complaint recorded?
The case was opened on 4/10 of 2023, right?
So in addition to your packet that you've put together, I believe the applicant has also submitted a letter at that
Correct.
time to Ms. French,
Correct.
and it's been received. Any comments on that letter?
No.
All right, let's just go through the chronology here. So I'm looking at the work order, just working back. So April 10th, we opened it. A letter was sent on the 17th or received on the 17th?
It was received on the 17th. The call,
Okay.
a call was received from the property owner on the 17th stating that he was going to appeal.
Okay, I see that. And how is he notified of the violations? Was it by mail?
By mail.
Okay. Got it. I see it here. Okay. So then I see, it looks like there was nothing done in between April 17th when you got the call. The property owner said he was going to appeal. And then then you worked with the attorney to send out a LDL
Correct.
on 7/6, so July 6th,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay, and then in response to that, basically you get the letter received on August 1st, right?
Correct.
Okay. So between that time, was there any like plan submitted, like the property owner said, hey, I'm gonna,
There was a little bit of miscommunication. The city planner at the time had the wrong email address, so the correspondences were getting, he wasn't receiving them, the property owner wasn't. So on the receipt of the law director letter, he had made it known that he had not received any of those, and we had come to find out that the email address we had on file was a little off by like one character was the reason not. So then we had decided to reset the timeline at that point.
okay? So besides the letter that came in on August 1st, was there anything up to that point about tentative plan, or I'll come in and talk about some things, or any responses at all?
No,
Okay,
not that I'm aware of.
Anything else that the board would like to request? Any other questions for Derek?
Any updates like up to today? Anything?
Still
since
the
August
same,
1st?
yeah. I inspected it this afternoon. It's still, everything looks as it does in the pictures.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I do
If
not.
not, then we'll, if the applicant would like to come forward and ask any questions.
I'm the property owner, Sean Holthouse. I had multiple phone calls with the city planner, Miss French, that he did not note. In between the big gap, that was because I requested them to mail any notices officially to my address, and they didn't. They insisted on sending it through email, which obviously they got incorrect. I didn't hear from them. I was supposed to be, what I believe the July meeting was the first time we were supposed to talk. And I didn't hear anything until I got the letter from the law director stating that I had like 10 days or something. And to which I appealed that. That should be the letter. I have a copy if you would like it.
A letter from Frank Patrizio on July 6th, you mean?
Yeah.
And you're saying you responded to that letter?
So they sent me notice in the mail, to which I called and tried to appeal, and I was told that both code inspectors were unavailable for the day, and they would get back to me. That was the couple-day delay in the first appeal. Then they were supposed to correspond with me through the mail, which they did not. And they, when I finally got the letter and called about it, figured out it was a discrepancy, and I got that corrected, and then told him once again, send it through the mail.
So at any time, did you fill out the statement of intent and return it?
No,
And you'd received that statement of intent?
I believe so, yes. I did some digging of my own, and according to Google Maps, that's exactly what it looked like in 2007. I didn't move in until 2015. According to the letter that you gave me, it says first and foremost that section 150.105 says it can't be transferred until that's abated. Or I have to sign a notarized document saying that I know it's in that condition. Never happened. I checked with my mortgage company, they don't have it on file. I've abated pretty much everything else, or made arrangements to abate everything else. The garage door, I have plans to have that installed this Saturday. The pool has been up for like 3 years now. You guys have not required a permit until this year, I believe. I think that's a new thing this year. The guttering on the garage, according to the property code that I requested and got, if it's not a drainage issue, it's not an issue. I have no drainage issue as far as I know.
And most of these things you're saying now, I think, I read some of this in the letter.
Yes.
That you prepared date. I don't see a date on the letter, but we received August the 1st.
I apologize for that.
Do you know roughly what date you sent that letter or prepared it? Obviously, it was before August the 1st
I believe the week prior.
week. So roughly July 22nd.
Roughly, yeah. I do have a Google Maps pulled up on my phone if you'd like to see that picture as well.
Yeah, I don't see anything like that. Oh. So what is your intent with the property? Are you planning on addressing these issues, or is it your stance that the property codes say that these changes don't need to be made?
To be honest, I feel targeted. I mean, I've lived in this property for 8 years now, and it's never been an issue until now. The garage door being dilapidated, obviously it needs repaired or replaced. I realize that. I'm taking measures to do that. Everything else, from what I've looked at, is up to code, except for the sidewalk and curb in question, which was already that way well before I even moved in.
So is the pool still there?
It's drained, but it is still standing.
So the
yes.
pool's still there, and do you have an intent to get a permit for it? Or what is your plan for the pool?
Didn't realize that I needed one until they sent me the code violation letter. Excuse me.
So I'm kind of looking at the correspondence, and you were sent, obviously, these pictures, right, of some things.
Sure.
Like I see sidewalk right here, right? That's
Yes,
one
sir.
thing the city pointed out. There's another picture here. So this was all the stuff that you received, right, when the city pointed it out? Okay,
Right here.
okay.
I believe that's, that may not be it.
So has anything been done with the sidewalk yet, or is it?
No.
Okay. And then, nothing yet on the
honest-
pool, right?
To be 100% honest and truthful about it, if you guys are forcing me to repair the sidewalk, I'd prefer to remove it.
So where the two trucks are parked, they're parked on a concrete pad, and then there's a broken up driveway, and then there's a devil strip that looks like there's grass. I mean, how did that get in that condition? I mean,
I purchased the property in that condition.
so it was purchased like that. So once a purchase is sold, I don't know, I think there's something called an ordinance, a law. So if it was like that, once a property's sold, don't you have to bring things up to code? Chris, maybe in a minute you can speak to that, or? Okay. So, but my question is, it's always been like that. I mean, you just can't drive vehicles up a curb and over grass and,
I mean, I'm not the only one.
yeah, what do you mean you're not the only one?
You can see in the pictures of my violations that my neighbors have similar violations. I talked with them, they didn't get a code violation letter. And if you drove through the neighborhood, you would see it's still that way today.
Well, my guess is it may be coming, if that's a
It
code
probably is
violation.
now. I'll have to apologize when I get home tonight.
So as I understand it, when you purchased a property, that garage, where it is now, was that where it was?
Yes.
Okay,
The way the pictures are now is the way I purchased it.
Okay.
If you have Google Maps, you can pull up the street view and it will show you a 2007 image where it looks exactly like that.
okay.
No deterioration that is visible through the pictures, other than there might be some more grass in the cracks. I try to keep up. mean, I have no problem improving my property, but, you know, with current economic status, it's not viable this year, next year even.
Any other questions or comments for the applicant?
Can you just repeat what you said you were working on, or which parts of these that you're gonna do in the near future?
So the garage I have scheduled to be replaced. The new door is sitting in my garage waiting for installation, which should happen Saturday. I'm still waiting to hear back from the guy. If not, I guess I get to do it myself. Yay. The guttering issue, according to the code ordinance section that it refers to, it specifically refers to a drainage issue, which is, there's not one, so I don't believe that guttering is required, being a condition of guttering requirement. Mainly what I'm really appealing is that you want me to fix stuff that's been there for I don't know how long. I don't feel that's my responsibility. The city has had plenty of opportunity to have that reprimanded since the code violation was adopted in '03. The picture shows it was that way in '07. I didn't move in until 2015. Being that none of my neighbors got any reprimands for the same alleged violations, I feel like I'm being singled out, almost like it's something I said.
Why would you think that? Something you said?
I'm pretty outspoken.
Well, I think obviously, regardless of the situation, if there's stuff that's out of code,
I understand your guys'
still got to bring
position.
it up to code.
Get that.
Okay.
But with it being that way for over a decade now, I feel that the city has had its opportunity. And to force me into it, I don't feel is right. Obviously, I would like to do it, but money doesn't grow on trees.
Well, would you be opposed to sitting down with the city and coming up with a plan? Like, these are some things I would like to do to address this over the next however many months?
I am not opposed to that at all, no.
Okay. Because usually what the city likes to do is they like to work with you on a get well plan. They don't like to necessarily bring the hatchet down right away, but they just want some engagement.
Not the way they came off in the letter.
Okay. Do you think you could reset? Because
It's
we've
not
actually
the way
had.
they came off over the phone either, talking with the city planner or whatever her title is. In fact, I
Well-
got laughed at.
What's that?
I got laughed at when I originally called for my first appeal,
What do you mean you got laughed at?
because they told me that I had to obtain a permit, which cost money, to which I replied, that's extortion. And I got laughed at.
What do you mean is extortion?
Making me get a permit and then making me pay for it is the definition of extortion. I get that you have to have a permit, but to have one, I mean, should I really have to pay for it, or should I just go fill out a form?
Did the city tell you how much it costs for that?
$25. To me, it seems like they're just attacking my wallet here.
Well, it's probably a processing fee. $25 seems pretty reasonable for a processing fee of, that's probably the discounted rate. Okay. So what do you think is a good solution?
I stated it in my letter. I mean, if you're forcing me to fix it, then it should be at the city's cost and my convenience. And as I stated before, if you're forcing me to fix the sidewalk, I'd prefer to remove it. It just promotes trespassers on my property, which I don't really appreciate.
Any other questions? Okay. Then, if you don't have any other comments, then we'll ask if Chris would like to come up and address the ordinance issues, or the city planner, or who would like to.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
comments. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. The question about change in ownership, there's no statute of limitations on the effect of the code. It's been in place, I want to say since prior to the 90s, the property maintenance code was adopted. And the change in ownership issue is if there is a code violation that's been issued, then you can't convey the property without that being disclosed and there being some remedy in place for how it's going to be resolved with the current owner or the new owner if they're accepting it as is. That's what that item refers to. The the duration of the items and the fact that no one's required them to be addressed previously doesn't mean that they're not out of compliance. And that's really what the question is here this evening, is whether or not the items before you are in compliance with the property maintenance code or out of compliance. Clearly, they are out of compliance. The non-standard conditions that were referenced, the abandoned drive approach that is in a distressed state of condition, and then the absence of a drive approach to where the garage and the driveway exist. How those came to exist that way, I don't know. Nor is that really what's relevant here. What's relevant is they're non-standard and they're out of conformance. I think there was probably at least one other property in this neighborhood, if I recall correctly, where there was an instance of an owner driving a vehicle over a curb where there was no existing drive apron, and they also were advised you can't do that. I think they voluntarily stopped doing that. In that case, I think they were parking in the grass. So it's not a targeted issue. It's, as Mr. Pearson stated, there was a complaint in the neighborhood. He went out and looked at it. He saw this at the same time, so he did what was appropriate and cited it. The code violation notices go out. We mail those to the property owner, and then we need them to communicate with us. So if they communicate, as you indicated, we're happy to work with them on a timeline that is reasonable to make the necessary repairs. It's when we don't receive communication that we struggle. And there may have been phone calls between the appellant and the former city planner and working towards a remedy, but clearly we did not achieve that outcome through those phone calls, which resulted then in the law director letter advising the applicant or the appellant that these things still need to be addressed. And so then apparently we got the appeal letter, and that's what brought us here this evening. So every individual has the right to appeal the decision of the enforcing official, but that is indeed what the item is before you, whether or not their interpretation of the code is relevant and applicable and accurate, and if their decision should stand or be amended or defeated. Again, I would say that a pool permit is nothing new. We've had permit requirements for any improvement on a site for decades. Pools are no exception. Pools above ground are typically temporary in nature, and they're required to go down during the winter months. They can't stay up year-round. The gutter issue is one that we hear all the time. It's when you build a roof assembly system, it has to have proper drainage, and gutters and downspouts provide the proper drainage, and that's there for a reason, and that's by virtue of a lot of study and recommendation from professionals who work in that realm under the International Code Council, who develop these codes. And at the very minimum, it's so that we don't have water standing at the foundation of these buildings, which then causes other issues during the freeze-thaw cycles. So all of these things are with merit, and that's the reason they're cited. Whether or not it's been a long duration of time and the city should have already addressed it is really not relevant. And certainly the city doesn't pay for improvements on a private property. It's the responsibility of the property owner to maintain the property to the adopted community standards, and that includes the area from the property line out to the curb and along the street, and the driveway and the drive apron and everything that's there. So happy to answer any other questions or provide any other clarifications. Derek and Aaron do their job and do it well. Chad is relatively new. I guess I'm the senior member here, so if I can offer some additional input or insights, I'll do that.
So has anybody had any correspondence with Sean besides the previous city planner? I mean, any phone calls or any correspondence at all?
I think the correspondence is when the code violation notice is issued, and then if the request is that they appeal, then the correspondence kind of stops at that point, right?
Okay.
If the appeal were an appeal to us for, hey, I'm going to do the things that need to be done, but I need until next year, I need, give us a time, the statement of intent is for that very purpose. Provide a work plan indicating how you're going to address the issues that have been identified and within what timeline. And then everybody agrees to that, and then that's what we hold ourselves to, both the applicant and the code enforcement official. If something happens along the way and they say, I need a couple more weeks or another month or whatever, that's fine. I mean, the end goal is to remedy the situation, not to end up in court over it or even before the BZA. So we would be happy to entertain a discussion with the property owner about a work plan that would achieve that outcome within a reasonable timeline. And I understand, I own a property, things are expensive, and if you can't do it in 1 month, if it takes 6 months, we can work that out, but it has to be within reason, it can't be indefinite.
So once the violation has been sent to the property owner, then we have the statement of intent. That would be the first state of the appeal, and that's when a work plan
That's not even.
worked out, and it could even be over a period of 1 or 2 years, as long as there's been some progress shown on correcting things?
Yeah, the violation notice stipulates a period of time to resolve the issue.
Okay.
And usually it's more or less 30 days. It depends on the item. Now, if I've got to replace concrete or put in a drive apron, 30 days might be a little quick, right? So if they respond and they communicate that, I get it, I know I need to address this, I can have it done by the end of the year, by November or whatever, if I back up to April when it was first cited. Then we would ask them to put that in writing and sign that statement of intent indicating that that's the date by which they plan to have that work plan completed. And that's usually how these things get resolved, when it's more work than the property owner feels like they can achieve within the original time that's identified in the code violation notice. In the event that they don't feel they can, or they don't want to, or they disagree, then they can appeal to this body and you make a determination whether or not the interpretation of the code is accurate and applicable, and whether or not the official has done his job properly. If you find that that is true, then we continue with the enforcement. Next step would be to ask for that work plan and statement of intent, and hopefully we can attain that. And if we can't, then the last resort is to send it to the prosecutor, and he takes it to court, and then the judge deals with it from that angle.
So correct me, be sure I understood this properly. So if it's upheld that the violations and the ordinances as submitted are correct, then the property owner would then have the opportunity to submit a statement of work for a schedule at that point?
Yeah, that opportunity has existed all along.
Okay.
And certainly that would be the preferred avenue as
And
an
then-
outcome, that
And work out a plan?
you've affirmed that, hey, these things are applicable, these are the adopted community standards, there is indeed a concrete area here that's in distress and needs repaired, gutters that need to be installed. With that finding, then the subsequent conversation would be, okay, we need a work plan. If you can't do it within 30 days, we're well past the original code violation notice duration. So we would ask for what is a reasonable timeline and have that put in writing, and then that's how we would move forward from there.
Thank you, Chris. I don't have any other questions.
No, I don't think I do either. Thanks.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Yep.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of this? Sorry, I can't hear you.
None of that was explained to me during any phone call, in the letter that I could just signed the intent to do the work. So this is the first I'm hearing of that.
So this would just be an extension of, instead of doing it in April, you'd be doing it now,
Yeah,
so.
I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
This is the first I'm hearing of that. It was
Sure.
not explained to me at all. I have a question too. Is the city planner that I had correspondence with no longer with us or something?
I believe that's correct.
Correct.
So that might be some of the
Yeah.
explanation as well.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. We will deliberate for a few minutes. So we have deliberated, and I guess we should open up. Is there any additional comments? Anything else to add? Derek, do you have anything else to add? Pardon me?
I couldn't help but overhear you guys are kind of hung up on these dates about the appeal and stuff like that. I appealed the very next day.
I don't think we're held up on dates. That's not an issue at all now.
But the issue with correspondence is they didn't contact me. Two BZA meetings have been canceled in the process of me trying to get my appeal. The last one I wasn't even sent notice of. So, I mean, there's that.
Okay, okay.
So that will close the discussion portion. And at this time, we are finished deliberating, and I'll entertain a motion.
All right, I'll go ahead and make a motion for Resolution BZA 9-23. This is a resolution to consider the decision of the enforcement official concerning property maintenance at 900 Camp Street as put forward and accepted. So the motion is to accept what's been put forward by the zoning official. I'm sorry, the compliance officer.
Okay, I have a motion, and do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion to adopt the resolution and uphold the zoning enforcement. Would you please call roll?
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Davy?
Aye.
So let the record show that Resolution BZA 9-23 has been upheld. I would encourage the property owner to get with the city planner and come up with a statement of work. It's always going to be better to work it out.
Yeah, I would just, Sean, I would just recommend you kind of do a reset. All we're saying is it looks like they followed what they were supposed to, how they corresponded. What's that? Right, so what I recommend is get with the city, do a quick reset with everybody involved, right? Do a quick reset, go over the violations, and then kind of put together like a get well plan. These are the things I'm gonna do, kind of just write, there's like 6 or 7 code violations. Get the easy ones first and just come out with a plan, and that's your intent with them. Just come up with a plan, and I'll bet you they delay any civil proceedings after that until so you can kind of work through it, right? They're reasonable. We've done this in the past, or there's been some miscommunication maybe, or maybe a misunderstanding. But just get with the city, and I would say in the next week, find out who you need to talk to. There's usually about 2 or 3 people, and just ask questions. Who are their names? What are they doing? Who should you talk to? And how do you kind of put together that plan? So all we're saying is those are valid violations. You need to address them. Just get with the city and figure it out, because you got the cold season coming, so want to get some of that stuff done, right? So yeah, just get with the city. Just work out a plan. They'll work it out.
Okay, thank you. We will now move on to Resolution BZA 10-23. Clerk, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution BZA 10-23, a resolution requesting a variance for parcel N44-101596, parcel N44-101598, parcel N44-101600, parcel N44-101602, parcel N44-101604, parcel N44-101704. You can continue on through all of those. They are all zoned RE6. We are requesting a variance in front yard setback from 25 feet to 20 feet.
Is the developer here? Okay. Yeah, let's do the staff report.
No, I didn't have it. This was all before me.
Yeah, normally we have a status report put together by the planner or whatever, or whoever. I'm not sure what's going to be doing going forward, but is this, I'm not familiar with this neighborhood. Is this, where's this neighborhood?
I'll take a stab at staff report. So this is the Arrowhead subdivision, which is at the southwest edge of the community, on the south edge of Candlewood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it started a few years back, I want to say like in '06, '07, somewhere in there, in the Great Recession, and it stalled. The more recent activity is the development of the remaining portions of the subdivision to the rear, back towards the Leonard Ditch that traverses along the back of the property. And the developer has the street infrastructure installed, all the water and utility infrastructure, everything is installed. The project is substantially complete from a public infrastructure standpoint. And they are now in the process of conveying those building lots to the home builder, Arbor Homes, who is the applicant. As part of the plan review and the discussion as they laid this out, one of the challenges that was encountered was with Leonard Ditch. The floodplain maps would suggest that there is a potential flood hazard there. And so they went through the process with FEMA to get a map revision processed, and were successful in doing that, which then brought the special flood hazard area back to the banks of the ditch, which is entirely accurate based upon history and what we all know about it. But on that same note, those lots, with that ditch being right at the rear of the lot, are a little more constrained, if you will. So as you all know, variances are for when there are unique and peculiar circumstances that aren't necessarily found elsewhere. And so in this instance, staff would agree with the developer that because of the constraint that the ditch creates at the rear of the lot, their desire is to be able to pull the houses forward 5 feet closer than what the code would ordinarily allow. So rather than a 25-foot setback, it would have a 20-foot setback in the front, which just provides a little bit more breathing room and a little bit more marketability for those houses along that ditch line. So staff's report is that we would recommend the BZA approve this variance. We think it is reasonable, and we think there are unique and peculiar circumstances that warrant this request.
It looks like it would certainly make it more uniform down through there.
Yeah, it'll make it a better project all the way around.
Okay.
And the developer is here to speak on their own behalf,
Okay.
so you need not take my opinion on it.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
That's the verbal staff report.
That's what we need.
I'm Craig Brockman, the division president for Arbor Homes. Appreciate you guys taking the time to review this. Ultimately, what the goal of our variance is to provide a better product to our buyers and get moving the houses 5 feet forward provides a better backyard, a safer backyard, and that's what our mindset is behind this. We're really excited to come into Piqua as a great opportunity for us, but we feel like we can provide affordable housing in the city, and I think it's going to be a great partnership with that. So again, appreciate you guys taking the time to review this and consideration. Certainly open to any questions you guys may have in regards to this.
Well, I've been by there a couple times. It certainly is a nice addition to the south side of the city there, and it's been a long time since we've needed some homes in that area. So thank you for taking the time to build in Piqua.
Is this the first, for this subdivision, is this the first one that came forward? Am I getting this mixed up with the other subdivision? We had something similar like 4 months ago,
They
right?
were triangular or
Yes.
trapezoid. Yeah, it's kind of similar.
Okay. All right, never mind. Okay, got it.
Yeah, one other note I left out. The intention of this isn't to provide deeper houses and take advantage of that. We're gonna leave the house size, the pads the same. It's just to grow the backyards.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments from city planner or Chris or anything? All right, we'll close off the mic for a discussion. So we'll close the discussion portion of this resolution. And at this point, it looks like a pretty good plan to me, and it's something that would work, and I think the rest of our board up here. So at this time, unless there's no other questions by the board, I'll adopt a,
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and bring forth the motion on Resolution BZA 10-23 to approve the variance for all the yard setbacks, moving them from 25 to 20 feet.
Second.
so I have a motion to adopt resolution BZA 10-23 in a second. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
So let the record show that resolution BZA 10-23 has been approved, and good luck with the completion of the development and get those houses done so we can get some people in there. At this time, would the clerk please read the resolution for BZA 11-23?
A resolution requesting a variance for 1304 South Street for a variance in the size garage allowed from 50% of the footprint of the principal structure, or 720 square foot, whichever is greater, to 1,050 square foot.
So currently, the structure is not built, and this is they're seeking a permit to build the structure a little bit larger than is allowed?
Correct. They applied to remove their existing 450 square foot garage and to erect a 1,050 square foot detached garage. Upon moving through the process, learning the zoning book as I was going through, I saw where there was the rule that they could have 720 square feet or 50% of the primary footprint, whichever was greater. The home is a very rough, Google area. It was 50 by 25 basically, so 1250. So normally the max for the house size would be 625, but we have that to where they can go to 720. I denied the permit based upon that, and I think they just chose to appeal to try to go for the 1,050.
Is the applicant here?
The applicant stated that he had to work this evening, so he was unable to make it.
So did he already remove a structure to replace it with this new one?
Not to my knowledge. It was noted in the plans as an existing detached garage.
An existing detached garage?
Detached, correct.
So there was a building permit submitted and denied, is that?
Correct. And there was a little bit of ambiguity on the submittal process. I think it originally came in under the previous city planner. When I came in, I was trying to grab some of the old permits to bring them and put them into my name, and I think one of them ended up sticking into the previous planners. When I saw it, I brought it up. I said I didn't know if anybody had made a ruling on this yet, but I can't approve this because it violates our code. So I think at that point, they were notified and chose to apply for it through BZA.
So, and then there was a mailing sent out to this list. Has there been any response from any of the neighbors?
Not to my knowledge.
All right, so for the calculations, what's the square foot of the house?
Well,
Is that's considered the principal structure?
it's just taking the footprint. So if it has 2 stories on it, which I believe it does, the square footage might not be accurate, but the initial footprint, I went and included the porch and came up with an initial footprint of 1,250 square feet, roughly 50 by 25. If I was guessing, I would assume that the gross, footprint minus the porch, whatever, is going to be closer to 950 to 1,000. But given benefit of the doubt, I'd say 1,250. Even then, 50%, if the intent of the code is to give 50% of what the primary structure is, it would be 625. And that's a generous number. Our code allows them to go up to 720. So roughly, rather than the 50%, you're looking at more of a 60% that we allow them to do. What they're applying for is almost virtually 90% of that footprint.
Well, if it's to scale, the garage looks bigger than the house. So I'm taking this as not to scale.
It's not to scale, but it's roughly 90% of the footprint of the home.
That concrete pad, is that the alley? Is that an alley right there, or is that their concrete pad where they're going to enter the garage?
I believe right now they had existing aggregate there, and to do this and park in it, they would have to have a hard surface.
So that concrete pad then would edge up against the alley?
That part, I didn't get into the details on that. I was just merely going with the detached garage. There are regulations on paving against the alley right there and going close to your property line and things of that nature, but that's something I would probably address following completion of the appeal on the building or on the structure.
So is this footprint calculation, is this for a detached garage or attached garage, or does it matter?
It's detached. Normally, what you have is you have accessory structures to the house, something that's accessory to the primary structure. It's usually broken up into 2 different things. You usually have what would be like a movable storage building, something you would get at Lowe's or that's something up towards 200 square feet. Then you can have a detached house, a carriage house, whatever you would think in certain neighborhoods. But the intent of that obviously is to store vehicles in it, be an accessory to the structure, and that's why we put the bigger footprint on that. That's usually more of a permanent building on a foundation, built to building code, et cetera. And Emily did pull up the auditor's website, and the finished first floor feet footage was 900, right? 906 square feet was the finished floor of the first, so that'd be roughly 450. It was 50%, so it's well over what the rules would say. It's very generous in that regard.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Harvey, any questions?
No.
I'll close the meeting then to our deliberation. Do you have something you'd like to add, Chris?
May I?
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt deliberation. I just want to point out that many years ago, there was a pattern of folks that the code wouldn't let them build their big garage that they wanted, so they would come and get a variance. And that is not the purpose of this body. And so that practice stopped. But the reason the standards exist is because these structures end up being so big that they're out of context with the residential fabric of the neighborhood. And if you look at his elevation view, he's calling for an 18-foot roof height. That's much higher than an ordinary garage height, and I think is probably in excess of our code. So there's another item that would need to be varianced. And when they get an answer that they don't want, and I'm going to appeal it and try to get a variance, it's just I'm going to get a variance, and there's nothing unique and peculiar about this location that warrants or justifies it. So I just wanted to add that 2 cents.
Yeah, I didn't catch that on the height. The height is more troubling than the footprint.
It starts to dwarf things, and it really, the garages become bigger than the houses, and it really alters the character of a neighborhood if it occurs on numerous bases. So.
Would it be prudent for us to table this until he is present to address?
It's your prerogative. I'm not inclined to delay decisions on items when they have the opportunity to make arrangements to be here. I know a person has to work, but frankly, I feel like this one I couldn't get the permit I wanted, so I'm going to try to get a variance. And I don't think it's going to change the conversation if you delay it, but it's certainly up to you.
All right. Thank you, Chris. So we've completed our deliberation. Appreciate everyone's input. At this time, I'll accept a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion for Resolution BZA 1123, a motion to deny the request for variance as stated.
So I have a motion to deny the variance request and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Harvey? Aye. Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Davy?
Aye.
So we'll let the record show that Resolution BZA 11-23 has been denied, and we encourage the applicant to look at different floor plans and submit something that meets the code, or at least something a lot closer. So if there's no other business, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.